Alex Wolf. Let's give her a big hand. Thank you.
My name is Alex Wolf. I'm an artist, a designer, and now an inventor at Nature. One of the things I'd like to talk to you about tonight, that I'm so excited that Julian invited me here to Lucid, to explain what we're doing. And this involves how we make games to teach science to children, and to do this at an ever younger age. And we talked a little bit about STEM, and we really feel that STEAM is the way to go. It's a much more powerful combination, and we're going to talk a little bit about why that is. Children love animals and plants, yet their interest and their curiosity is not so well scaffolded and matched so that all of this information that they learn is coming together in one discrete chunk of information as a network. We believe that biology learning is really not well connected with the age at which children are starting to interact with nature and seeing these animals and plants. By harnessing the concepts of visual concepts, putting them together, art and design can marry science and nature. And our big theory here at Nature is to make a suite of games that teaches how nature makes pattern, structure, and color, and do so in an intuitive way. We're revolutionizing the way science is taught. We're taking complexity and breaking it down into its irreducible parts. We're grouping it, and we're putting it into simple classifications and color coding it. So this basic knowledge, we feel, are building blocks, and we'd like to see this get into the hands of kids at the earliest ages possible. Imagine you could learn the foundations of science and do so by the age of 12, connecting all the dots, starting at 4, just by playing games. But these games aren't just for children, they're for adults as well. And so we really try and make this great for 4 to 104. The newest thing we've been working on is a really big idea. It's called the pattern alphabet. I'd like to show it to you now. It's just in beta.
Defined by the laws of space and physics, these patterns are the complete set of nature's most basic building elements. These are her building blocks for 2- and 3-dimensional patterns on micro and macro scales. Every second from the moment we animals are born, our minds collect intelligence by way of pattern recognition and processing. Along the way, you learn to identify and apply this design not only to your senses, but to ideas, concepts, and stories. Curiosity and wonder promote perceptual learning from an early age as we see and experience the beauty around us. Nature's pattern alphabet is a radical new way to make these fundamental formulas into a vocabulary and serve as an introduction to patterns and structures built not only on Earth, but in our universe. We can't wait to share this with you, whatever age you are.
Thank you. So you're probably wondering how this idea was born, and it was born alongside my daughter. This is Isla. When she's about 2 in 2003, I went and found all of the toys that I loved from my own childhood and found a few more that had come out. But I was really disappointed in the selections that were available for Nature, because really parents become very eco-minded, new parents especially, and suddenly there was this complete gap that I saw in the market. Here's what we usually see. You know, the usual see and say. The cow goes moo. It's cutesy, it's cartoony, and this is being delivered to a child whose development from birth to 5 is actually stronger at any other time in her life. They're young, but they're not stupid, and we're serving them intellectual junk food. The lack of elegant toys and plants led me to the first problem. Okay, I know what they shouldn't look like. What should they look like? The first thing that I wanted was to have these games, if they were going to be about nature, be as elegant and as fun, as intuitive as nature herself. And so here's a picture of Bark. It's our first game that we published in 2011, and it's a pattern matching game, very standard, high production value, gilded edges, the kind of thing you should leave on your coffee table and play a lot with your kids. To make games like this, I looked around at Isla's playthings, and this was at every age, 4, 5, 6, going into figuring out what her language and her concept level were, and trying to figure out how to match these games that would work with things that she was interested in. But the next problem came about because, okay, so how am I going to match all of these species? And I had a real big problem when I realized there was a flaw in my own education. I'd gone to Exeter and RISD, and they're amazing schools, and that's awesome. However, there's a little problem. They didn't teach me how nature builds things, not in one discrete, concrete way that I could access as a body of knowledge. So, here I am, I'm trying to give this all to my kid. Biology is this vast, messy, wordy trove that's buried in books and paper and all over the internet. And, for example, E.O. Wilson wanted his TED Wish to be the Encyclopedia of Life. Let's just get all this information together and let's put it into a wiki, and we'll just amass all this information in one place so you can access it. But even when they were doing that, they found this one bug that had 47 accepted spellings just for this one bug. Okay, so here's me with one class of biology. How am I going to make sense of all of this? Kind of a mess. So I thought, okay, I'll just go on the internet and I'll research this out and figure out some really great way to figure out a cheat sheet. You know, I'll just navigate my way around the tree of life. I didn't find one. So I made one, because that's the RISD style. I tried to mash a lot of Linnaean taxonomy based in a bunch of words and concepts and put it into a periodic style of graphical icons that were beautiful, color code them, try and make them very simple. And this little cheat sheet is now the first periodic table for biology. We're testing it out and developing it as we go. But what happens when we build something at nature, like a platform? We make it into a game. And we made it into Ferret. Let's take a look.
Ferret is based on the periodic table we created for biology. Just like you can make a formula for salt or water, you can now make a formula for an animal.
Thank you. Before I met Tanya Thompson, who was Inventor Relations at Think Fun, an absolutely amazing company, my daughter and I were in the midst of a process of looking at all of her games, and I was looking at what does she want, what do I want, what did my 4-year-old self want, what does her 5-year-old self want, and so I set upon this journey to go ahead and make these games. We took Ferret and decided, okay, how about we flip it into a game called Anagram It, an analog game. And so whereas you deconstruct in Ferret, you're going to construct an Anagram It. And there's a great parallel between the digital and the analog, the deconstruct and the construct. Let's take a look.
Anagram It is the best new animal game for all ages. Here's how it works. There are 100 tiles. The goal is to make as many animals as possible. Use the body parts which represent the animal you want to make and declare your animal. You can use the word or image side or a combination of both. Pre-readers can play on the image side until they can read. We set up a classification system for all those anatomical parts. It's based on the periodic table we built. Color coding makes the game more accessible to the very young. The images also help the youngest players. Here are a few moves showing how you can cross and add to make animals. You start with the youngest player. The first player builds a beetle with 4 parts. The next player adds 3 different parts to the wings of the beetle to make a parrot. Player 3 can add spine to the parrot and also add 4 more cards across to continue on to make a cat. Lastly, player 4 can change the cat into a bat by adding wings and sonar. If you don't have any tiles to make any animals, you can pass and you will lose your turn.
Once you get the hang of making animals, you can play on the board, crossword style. Each player draws 7 tiles. The first player makes a ladybug, the next player a duck, then a bat, and so on. Each player can add to the current animal and change the animal, even change which type of animal. This game is being played on the word side of the tiles, so you can see the 5 colors for each category. You can have more than 1 tile from each group. Thank you. So the fun got even better when I teamed up with Vijal Parikh, who's here with us tonight. His background was neurobiobehavior at Cornell. He went on to medical school, and now he's in psychiatry. You now have a team which is artist, designer, mom, gamer, with somebody who understands how we learn and a lot of the biology. So we were digging into this classification, as you've seen. And one of the things that we know is that kids classify visually things around them before they even have language. You can take red circles and put them all together as opposed to yellow circles. But once you gain language, now you have a name for all of this stuff. Red, circle, yellow. But there's a problem when you get to things that look very different. Suddenly they have all the same name. Like all of those dogs. Is that intuitive? Not really. However, the way we're doing this is to make a way to classify and identify these species, or thinking of classifying of other things, which is more direct and active and will get you a more analytical perspective on trying to keep this concept in your mind. In fact, in a way, we're trying to help you not so much how to think, but how to see. This became a business after we had made mountains of prototypes, tested them with family, friends, kids, parents, schools, etc. And fortunately, all of the people who we tested with were really positive and said, this is a very beautiful set of games that you're building, and they're also very unique. You have to just go into business and make them. The thing that I'm very excited about is this picture of my daughter was taken at a place where we were testing this summer, this July, and we had a group of 4-year-olds playing the pattern alphabet, using the pattern alphabet, playing anagram it, and playing ferret. This is the youngest group that we've ever had. Not only am I proud of them for how smart they are, I'm really glad that they had fun doing this and being smart. Did you think that this was a fun game?
Yes.
Did you like making animals?
Yes.
Could you make any kind of animal?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you say that you knew a lot of stuff on the app already? Did you learn stuff?
Yes.
Did you get smarter?
Yes.
You did. So would you play with the pattern alphabet at school?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think you might do like scavenger hunts with it, and would it help you drawing?
Yeah.
Would it help you figure out adding and subtracting things, like some math stuff, because of the 3, 4, 5? We're hopefully in a place where the pendulum is swinging back to the Renaissance, as Julian mentioned, and Leonardo da Vinci. He used art and science as a continuum. By observing nature and finding the underlying principles, he was able to use all of this information to inform his inventions, his art, and his other creations. STEAM really is the modern view of this thesis. And fortunately, we're really happy that the hacker and maker movement supports this so well. But I believe deeply that the iPad generation should be learning not just about nature, they should be learning from nature. But nature is kind of weird because nature and science are kind of the same thing, right? Nature is this fantastic thing and science is under the hood. There's a big disconnect with people because emotionally they love nature. Wow, let's go out in nature, it's so fabulous, let's preserve it, all this great stuff. However, you get into the science and like, I don't know, I wasn't really so good at that. And it's my job to really talk them off the ledge and say, listen, your science education may not have been that great, or you may not have been great at chemistry or physics or whatever, but we can really break the cycle on this. And that was the intention of me trying to give myself the biology education that I really wish that I had. And that's my intention for your kids, because your kids actually aren't afraid of science at all. In fact, they love it, and they're really good at it. Better than it, you even know, half the time, because why? You're afraid of it. So now the next problem comes into this little marketing thing, and it's very interesting because we've been doing the sort of coffee table model with very beautiful high-end produced games, and then we have classroom. And you think that these are the same, right? This is a universal idea. They want to play it at home, they want to play it at school, it's great, right? Okay, regardless of the fact that we've gotten awards from these 3 different categories, they all see us as something totally different. And to succeed in these different markets, or different distribution models, different business models, and this is a very complex thing for a young new company that is very heavy in IP and a little bit low on money. But we're determined to make this work. And we have to make this work because it is absolutely urgent that we go and fix climate disasters that are coming around us. We have to halt the climate change. We have to really deal with habitat destruction. We have to deal with species extinction. And we have to live with our Earth, not just on it. It's really important that this next generation can have this integrated knowledge and can really work with biomimetic concepts, because they're the ones whose appreciation of biodiversity is going to be giving us the solutions for how to live with the Earth. It's time to evolve a more mindful and a smarter human. So at Nature, we're making a lot of different things. We've shown you a few of them, and we have questions about how these things apply out, what our next steps are going to be. For example, what would happen if students around the world, from China to Zimbabwe to Idaho, were all using this biological periodic table at school? And science as well. Scientists, what if they were using this as well? That's one question. The other thing is the platform that we built, Ferret, is available and would be a great model for zoos or even countries with ecotourism to be able to feature their animals and their species and be able to raise awareness and possibly even funding through that. The other question I have is about the pattern alphabet, which is just a couple months old. But what would happen if we ended up having this group of preschoolers, the first group, what would they bring to their science and math and art classes, having learned all of this? This is something that can grow with them. The next thing is, what if conservation organizations could fund their missions by way of the gift shop? Instead of selling plush toys, maybe our cat cube could power tiger conservation. At Nature, we're building these platforms and these products to try and create win-win solutions for the nature community, for nature itself, and for our awareness of it and our appreciation. We know that biomimetic thinking can really get down to the youngest kids. They get it. So evolutionary design thinking and seeing is the next revolution in learning. Thank you.